Hey you guys, today let's focus on some exercises that help promote glute growth and some reasons why your glutes aren't growing at all. Hey you guys, so the secret to having an awesome butt is number one, glute activation. Number two, it's strengthening the gluteus maximus, minimus, and your hamstrings. They all work in unison. We got to get all of those strong if you really want to build really good glutes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with is just a quick activation. You can do this anywhere. You can use bands. I'm just going to show you an example, a couple quick ones. You can actually spend 5 or 10 minutes with a glute activation, which is good to do because we want to get those guys fired up before we start trying to do any kind of work with them. Okay, so these are just going to be placed around the ankle. You want to just shift your weight from side to side. Sometimes I'll internally rotate my feet a little bit more to hit the minimus on the side. So you're just going to step out and just do a pretty good walkout. If you have a hallway or something, I'm just going to do kind of a short little, just kind of showing you how to do this. So maybe you can do, 3-5 passes of that. You can do a monster walk here and backwards. You can do a glute bridge. Those are really good for activation. Clamshells are really good for activation. So you really want to make sure you get those guys firing before doing any kind of heavy load with your glutes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with is a UniLeg squat. And what's great about this is this move is going to take the best activation of a squat can offer and also the best hip and thigh activation that a lunge can offer, all rolled up into this great exercise. So all you're going to need is a chair or bench. It's great to do unilateral exercises because if we have any muscle imbalances, we can add in maybe an extra set on the weaker leg. That's what's good about it. So with this one, you're just going to stand on one side. Your abs are going to be tight. You're going to keep good posture. And you're just going to think about lowering down and sitting up. Now the key with this one is kind of hinging the hips back as you're sitting back and making sure that the glute is doing all the work. And the hamstrings, they're going to be doing a lot of work with this too. So you're going to sit back and up. If you want to hold weight, if you're already finding these super easy, you can hold a medicine ball, you can hold a dumbbell, and up. 10 to 12 reps, 3 to 5 rounds, really good. Make sure you're hitting the other side. Good for balance too. Okay, next we're going into that good old classic, the barbell back squat. Okay, so with this exercise, you can use it freestanding, you can use a squat rack, you can use a Smith machine if you're just starting out. I only recommend that when you're just starting to learn how to do a back squat, because when you're on the Smith machine doing back squats, it takes out the stabilizers, which is not good. So just kind of do it until you kind of get familiar with how to do them, then get out and try to do them so your stabilizers are involved. Okay, so what we're going to do with this is going to utilize all the posterior chain muscles more than, let's say, a dominant front squat would. So we're just going to put the bar back on our shoulders. I'm not resting it on my neck. It's going to be on my shoulders. Our feet are going to be about shoulder width apart. If you want to have just a slight toe rotation, you can. The goal with this is just to get down into a 90-degree angle. I'm always going to keep my head and chest up. My abs are going to be engaged. I'm going to think about hinging my hips back and going into a low squat. Now for me, I have ankle mobility issues. So what I really should be doing, what I normally do, is I elevate my ankles, and that's going to help me get into a lower squat. So if I'm not going all the way down into 90 degrees, that's the reason why. So if you find you're having trouble getting all the way down, like, wow, I stop right here, for me, it's my ankles, injuries from gymnastics. So I know that I have to elevate mine to get really into a nice deep squat. So for now, and you don't want to hyperextend your back. You don't want to really push out. You just want to drop down and press up through the backs of your heels, standing straight. Okay. Alrighty, you guys. Next, we're going to do a step up on the bench. So step ups. So form is really critical with these. So let me kind of whip this guy around so you can see what I'm doing. So like I mentioned, form is really critical with these, but they've been proven to be one of the best for glute growth because it completely isolates that glute. So what you're going to do is you're going to find your box or bench. The key with this one is once your foot is up on the bench, it's not about just hopping up. That's not going to do anything. The key is to push your hips back. You can kind of see how I'm now, as I'm ready to step up, I'm pushing my hips back. I'm trying to center the weight on my heel, and I'm pushing through my glute. And then I'm really going to take my time on that eccentric lowering. I'm just not going to slam myself to the ground. So I'm pushing my hips back, stepping through my heel, pushing up, slowly lowering, 2 to 3 second lower, and back down. Pushing my hips back, stepping up, and lowering down. This is a little cushiony, so but super good, even just those 3, and I'm really feeling my glute doing the work. So once again, of course, we're gonna switch off to the other leg. I'm standing here, I'm thinking, okay, I'm pushing my hip back, I'm stepping through my heel, and then I'm taking a nice, low, long time to lower down. Super good, really good. Just really think about your form with those. Next, we're gonna go into a hip thrust. I'm just gonna push this back because you wanna make sure you have a nice stable environment for that. Get myself a little mat here. So with this, you wanna make sure that the bench comes to about your mid-scapular area, which this one does. You wanna start, I'm gonna show you without the weight first. You want to have your feet shoulder width apart, fairly close to your glutes. You're just gonna raise up and lower. You're gonna raise up and lower back down. So I'm gonna get that dumbbell or barbell and show you with weight. That way you can kind of make sure your bench is at the appropriate height for that. So I'm just gonna bring that in. This is fairly light, so a lot of times the weights are a little bit higher, so you can just kind of roll this over. This is pretty light, so I'm just gonna kind of lift it up and over. But if you're using a heavier weight, normally the plates are a lot bigger, so I see people just kind of rolling these on. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to get my feet in position, making sure they're right. My back is up nice and straight. I'm in that kind of mid-scapular area. I'm gonna actually just let the weight, it's so light. So I'm gonna get in the position, I'm gonna grab the weight. Normally you would have hold of the weight when you're raising up. So I'm just gonna push my hips up and lower down. The key with this one is you're not gonna lay your head back. You wanna keep your chin tucked and you're always looking forward. So I'm raising up, lowering down, really pushing, getting my hips, everything almost in a tabletop, lowering down. So again, we want to make sure we're keeping that chin tucked and looking forward the whole time as we're really pushing those glutes up towards the ceiling. Really trying to get a full range of motion. And back down. All right, even with just light weight, I'm getting a really good little pump with that one. Okay, so next, lunge jump. We always have to have an explosive movement. So this is a great exercise. It's plyometric, it's a signature sprinter move. And what's great about this is it's really getting those glutes firing. It's explosive, it gets your heart rate up. It's good to do kind of something as a finisher to help kind of burn the fat. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna lunge back into a 90-degree angle. That back knee is gonna get as close to the ground as possible. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna drive with the opposite arm of our knee. So we're gonna be here, and we're just gonna jump and lower. Trying to keep everything in a straight line, down and up. So maybe 12 to 15 reps. When you're done, we're gonna hit the other side. So we're back here and we're gonna drive. So what's great about that other arm is it's gonna help you get that momentum up. So here, so really use that opposite arm. and we're really feeling our glutes and hamstrings driving up. 3 rounds of maybe 15 to 20. Get that heart rate up. Okay, you guys, those are 5 really good exercises. Remember activation, we're working our hamstrings along with trying to get that glute growth. So now let's just talk really briefly about 3 of the top glute killers. What's really not helping us with our glute growth? The first one is sitting too much. So many people live like a sedentary lifestyle. They're not getting any exercises. They're just kind of sitting all day. We're going to accumulate chronic back pain, tight hip flexors, tight hamstrings. And I understand you guys may have a desk job where you're working 8 hours a day, but just sitting all day, just try to think about getting up from time to time, maybe every 1 to 2 hours, take a 5 or 10 minute walk somewhere. Let's say somebody has a question, instead of calling them in another building, or just get up and walk instead of calling people. That's a great way to just get up, get some dynamic stretches. And really the key to this is making sure you're keeping your glutes firing throughout the day. The next, we're going to talk about glute imbalances. There's 3 causes of that. The first one is asymmetrical human nature. We're all kind of a little off. It's just the way life is and the way that we were born. A lot of us are just already asymmetrical. Inactivity probably is the biggest reason why our glutes shut down. Inactivity. The third would be pain or prior injury and structural issues. So research shows that glutes that become inhibited because of maybe something with your lower body, you've had injuries, a spinal injury, the glutes, is that they don't necessarily kind of automatically turn back on. We have to reactivate, re-strengthen, and re-coordinate, just kind of getting that everyday movement and activity back in. So that's something really good to think about. And the third, which I talked about earlier, improper glute activation. So for people who are like, what in the heck is glute activation? So basically it's just a fancy way of saying getting your glutes muscles properly warmed up and firing before your workout. So try to think about incorporating maybe 3 to 5 exercises, maybe 5 or 10 minutes before your glute workout. Like I mentioned earlier, band walks, clamshells, anything. Bridges are super good, just to kind of get those muscles firing. Anything you can do to kind of get them working before you actually start lifting with heavy loads, because they're going to do so much more. They're going to react way more when you're lifting heavier once they're activated. Whew, that's a lot of information. But hopefully it was helpful. Even if you had an aha moment here or there, that's what we're looking for. Hey, thanks for joining me today, you guys. Follow us on our social media sites, Instagram, Facebook, hit the like button, subscribe, and I hope you work out with me soon.